Yeah, phenomenal. And then okay, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Transform the Triangle with FCCI. And I am excited to have all of you in the room, and we're going to welcome some guests online as well. If you're watching online, go ahead and say hello to everyone in the room and tell us where you're watching from. But those of you in the room, we want to give you a moment just to get to know each other. Some of you are actually a native of North Carolina. This is Transform the Triangle. So would you push your chair back and would you stand if you were born in North Carolina? Yeah? Yeah, so look around. The vast majority of us were not born here, and here we are, a part of Transform the Triangle. Yeah, yeah.
I'm sorry you did that.
Actually, remain standing if you were born in the triangle. I have to sit down. Steve, are you, and Joette, and Steve, anyone else? Yeah? Yeah, so three of you of our group. Doug, were you born in the triangle?
No.
Yeah, we wouldn't claim you anyway. But yeah, thank you. You can be seated. So let's find out who else is in the room. We have friends from Ukraine, thanks to Alexa. So everyone born outside the USA, please stand. We have Justin from India. We have friends from Ukraine. We have Andrew from India. Joanne? Canada. Okay.
All right.
Yeah. All right. Any others? Yeah. So it's a big country of South Dakota. There we go. All right. You may be seated. Yeah. And let's find out who else is from across the United States. So if you were not born in North Carolina or in another country and you haven't stood yet, will you stand up and let us get to know our friends from all over the world, all over the United States? Yeah, there you go. Welcome. Welcome. So yeah, you can be seated. And we're really glad that the Triangle gets to serve as a melting pot for the kingdom of God. And we may not be able to identify as coming from the from the same place of birth, but we can identify as coming from the same family. And we are here in we are here in a like-minded community of kingdom leaders and kingdom builders. And this is an event hosted by Fellowship of Christian Companies International. Anyone never been to anything FCCI? Raise your hand. I would think a large portion. Yeah, welcome, welcome. And raise your hand if you have been a part of FCCI more than 1 year, more than 2 years, more than 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 9 years, 10 years. We're going to stop right there. So these are our answer people. You have questions about FCCI, they will be glad to answer any question that you have. But really, I want to honor you, those of you who have been a part of the movement that we get to call FCCI, because we wouldn't be here had you not laid the seeds maybe even 10 years ago for what's happening tonight. I know we have unfortunate weather. I'm glad that we're safe here, and I pray that everyone's safe outside. But there's something very significant happening in the room tonight, and we're not here by accident. And Steve is going to just walk us just a little bit further into this introduction of FCCI. Steve Campbell, everyone, put your hands together. We just welcome Steve.
Very good. So I am a stand-in actually for Ryan Dickinson. Some of y'all have met Ryan. His head is more shiny than mine. And his beard is much fuller than mine. And he actually left Denver early today. His flight was scheduled to arrive 2 minutes late. And the pilot decided at the last minute he wasn't going to land, literally feet from the ground. So I don't know exactly what happened after that with some of the passengers. It didn't sit well with it. So they did fly around for a little bit when they went to Dallas. They had to replane there and clean up the decorations in the aisles because the flight was so rough. So Ryan said his best, and he said if there's any way possible he would be here. But some of y'all that have met him, he's an absolute delight. He actually was radically impacted by someone in his workplace who began to share Christ. And he was living a life that mattered in Ryan's eyes. And that became really an instrument in his life. Ryan went on to start 2 businesses. He also served church staff for a while. And his best friend actually asked him to come on church staff. So they built an engagement model to build a church that is running, I think, about 4,000 people now out in Colorado. But he's an absolute delight. Lord willing, maybe March, April timeframe, we'll have him back in and we'll get to hear from him directly. But he came up with an idea as he listened to FCCI, and he spent time traveling around the country and then eventually around the world to get feedback. Sorry about this. But as he listened to the process, he realized that in a lot of cases, people go all through life, they don't have clarity on calling. And if you've ever experienced the call of God, and then you walk that into a vision, especially, I think, if you start a company, it changes everything. And we were talking at the table a little bit ago about how you can have 10 qualified candidates, and you experience this thing and you're thinking, hey, they're all good. They all meet the criteria. One walks in the room and they light up the room. And the passion that is released there is the very thing that God has put in us. And whenever he calls us out and we walk into that, that is something that literally, it changes everything. It changes our personal work and so forth. So Ryan said that from that point, that if you have clarity on where God is calling you, you start stepping out in faith, you start walking into that vision. If you've started a company or you've acquired a company, or maybe you're just in a lead role to help impact the culture of the company, and you start walking that faith into the things that you do day by day, you'll experience things that you might not ever otherwise. So it's not enough to just have good intent. You still need to have business excellence. You need to have clarity of your products and services and that kind of thing. So the positioning for excellence we see as a step, and these are presented in a linear fashion here. The reality is that it's not always linear. And it's not always easy to map out and say, this is where I'm at. And quite often, God will bring us in a circuitous route to go back and review them. You know, it could be looking more deeply at the vision. It could be you start getting closer to it and you realize it's not what you thought. But in that positioning for excellence, the value of counsel, of encouragement, of prayer support, we believe is just off the charts in terms of value. So FCCI would really devoted to that. And then ultimately, you bring these three things together, And you can be very purposeful in trying to impact the kingdom. If you don't have the other elements, it diminishes your impact. So the first three don't equal the third, but we see them as acceptable. So if you've got those things and then you become intentional and you begin to declare it, there's a great opportunity to begin to have a plan. If you see the UPS guy or an employee, or you see a person walking in to maybe fill out a job application, and you see them as image bearers, as we heard about a few months ago from Mary Verona, it changes how you look at them, but also how you value them. And in order to maximize the company, those things become invaluable. The employee appreciates it. So maximizing kingdom impact is part of it, is having a plan, is recognizing those people. And then you want to hire people that are not Christians because you want them to experience the kingdom of God. So we're committed to all of those things. And ultimately, once you begin to do those things, the opportunity for multiplication is something that's always been God's plan. He said in the Great Commission that we're to build and make disciples of all nations, teaching them to do all the things that Christ commanded. And whenever we launch a company, when we go in and we hire an employee, we're teaching all the time, or it just doesn't work. So you impart those values, you impart those kingdom principles, and you begin to develop Christ himself in the workplace. We're going to hear more about that from Tom. Thank you so much for being here to talk to us about being Christ. And I want to back up and just give a shout out. Spirit Media helped sponsor this. We couldn't have done it without you. And Kevin, you guys are doing a phenomenal job. Really appreciate it. And especially your vision for the kingdom, as well as helping people tell their story and get their stories out there in terms of book and other means. So thank you, Spirit Media. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you being here.
And I would love to just thank everyone with Spirit Media for coming tonight. It's a great opportunity to get some of our team together, and we welcome that. Along with Steve, we have Amy and Joanne, and we can't do this event without you, and we really appreciate that. Tom, we have waited long, ever since the fall. We were actually working on an event the week of the state fair. And as you know, road construction around here and the state fair all together made us move until tonight. And you braved the weather, and we are here, and we can't wait to see what God says in and through Tom Carmazzi. Will you please put your hands together and welcome Tom?
Well, good evening. Gosh, thanks for bearing all this weather. I mean, my goodness, and, it's really nasty out there, and that you all showed up. So, thank you very much for doing that, because I know you had other choices this evening, and yet you're here with us. So, yeah. I'm going to get a little clicker here, and oh, I see it. I see it. I see it. Thanks. Thank you very much. It feels really mild to me. Does it seem mild to you as well?
Seems good.
Okay,
It's good.
thanks.
Well, it's coming out here. If you can
Hang on,
tell.
flip.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Very much. That'll work. All right. So Kevin's giving me 30 minutes, so I got a timer here. I'm zeroed in. So we're leading the company for Christ, and you can tell I'm a real clever lot. I call this graph the 4 stick. So we're going to be talking about these in order. So we're going to start with the first stick, which is leader, then we're going to go to the team, then we're going to go to structures and process, and then we're going to end up with kingdom success. And before I do that, it's like, well, who the heck are you? I mean, what are you doing here talking to us? And so let me just give you a real brief overview of that. So first is, I'm up here as a practitioner, not as an expert, not as an expert. So what I'm about to share with you are things that I have experienced. And some of those I wish I had a do-over. Okay, I didn't quite go plan. And so that's first. Secondly, in terms of a leader, in terms of this first stick, the majority of my career I spent as a manager. And so what does that mean? That means that really I focused on the figures and not on the faces. And I was real good at it. Okay, I got rewarded for it. I got promoted for it. I got incentivized for it. Got really nice bonuses for it. Okay, but the thing was, I got to this place, I really didn't like myself much. Okay, and so I made a shift more to the faces from the figures. But that was really the latter part of my career. Spiritual. Okay, this has been a relatively new journey for me, the whole faith. And people say, well, where are you on this journey? And I say, well, gosh, I think I'm in elementary school now. A couple of years ago, I was in kindergarten. Okay, I'm making progress. I'll probably say I'm in 4th or 5th grade, but again, it's a rather new journey for me as well. So that's who's standing before you. And so what we're going to do is we're going to walk through these 4 sticks. This first stick, you notice it talks about the leader, and there's this little green bar that's popped up, and it's saying that that leader is to climb. And as that leader climbs, they pull up the team. That's what these little dots are. They pull the team up. As the team climbs, the fidelity of your processes and structures gets better. And as those get better, well then, holy cow, we got the kingdom success that's sustainable. It's not a 1-month wonder. It's sustainable. And this also goes left to right. Doesn't go right to left. Don't say, well, I'm going to go have kingdom success right now. No, it's you got to start with the leader. How many here have heard of John Maxwell? So he wrote a book called The 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. And one of the chapters in there talked about law of the lid. Okay, so the first place we're going to start is, well, who leads this? What's the first stick? It's that Christian business leader. And John Maxwell said the rest of the organization will not climb any higher than that first stick. They are the lid. So that's why we start there. We start there because that is as high as you're going to go. So how many here supervise people? Yeah, all right. So again, let me ask another one. How many of you had 2023 personnel goals, development goals for your team, those that supervise people? How many had personnel goals for your team? Cool, great. How many of you had personnel goals for you? How'd you do on those? If you're like me, I'd save them for next year. Yeah, that worked real well. So the key is this first stick. And again, it's a Christian business leader. So it's the faith side, and as we also heard about, there's the business side of this. So there's this wonderful blend. And so for me, it starts with these Christian values. Okay, so these are mine. Curiosity, clarity, grit, grace, gratitude, and love. All right, so curiosity, that's all about my own learning. You know, if I'm the first stick, I got to keep climbing. Okay, clarity. How many here are really good with their yeses and nos? Really good, especially with the nos. Yeah, I get myself in integrity traps, is what I call it. Okay, because I want to say yes, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh gosh, I don't know if I can make that happen, you know? So that's a really big deal in terms of building the trust. And then there's the grit, that daily discipline to get back on the path. So I'm a sinner, all right, and I'll get knocked off that path, and it's that daily discipline to crawl back on there, because I don't want to be on any other journey but this, okay? So now we go to grace, okay, and it talks about grace of myself and others. Anyone here have negative self-talk? Yeah, I'm a real champ at this, okay? I would say I used to be a lot better. I'm getting much more tuned in as to who's really talking there. I'm going to come back to that. Okay, then there's this gratitude. And all I want is kind of my daily bread, just what I have now. Need more, just give me my daily bread. And then the last talks about love. And there, I just want to see others as Christ sees them. Because man, that awareness for me would be unbelievable. So back to the figures. So back when I was a figures guy, I made a lot of decisions that hurt people, hurt employees, laid people off, shut down plants, sold businesses. And so I believe you all were children of God and he loved you, but my fate was already determined. Okay, and nothing I could do about it. I made choices, that was it. So I started, like, journeyed past kindergarten. You know, it's like, no, I mean, God is a gracious God, and he will let me out, but I gotta choose to get it. Yeah, I gotta choose to get it. And so now back to grace. So this beating myself up, I thought it made me stronger. Heavens, yes. I mean, I could set a high bar for myself to make me stronger. Well, what really scared me is I thought, as my faith grew, it's like, that's not Jesus talking to me. Who is that? I mean, I recognize the voice, it's my voice, but it's like, who really is talking to me? And I made up as a devil. And I got scared. I mean, really, really scared. But I think, holy cow, he's in my head. And he doesn't want me to really get stronger. He wants me to keep beating myself up. Okay? And then the next thing that dawned on me is I'm thinking, I'm passing judgment on something created by God. Who the heck do I think I am? Who the heck do I think I am? I'm not that person. And so I switched. And what switch means, what I do now, because I still have those do-overs, and it's what did I learn? What am I going to do different? What did I learn? What am I going to do different? No longer is boom, boom, boom. Okay, so key. Now, it's your turn. Okay, so I'm asking y'all to stand up. Stand up. This is the good stuff here. Okay, so it says, where are you in your Christian values? All right, now. Sorry, you guys are all taller than Dick. It's like Christmas. So your right arm is basically your barometer on a scale of 1 to 10. The ceiling is a 10. The floor is a 1. 5, 6, 4. Okay, right? You got it? Okay, so think about this last week. How did you do in living into your Christian values? Now, the trick here is I'm going to ask you to close your eyes. So right now, would you close your eyes? Close your eyes. Nothing's going to happen to you. Okay, just close your eyes, and with your right arm, okay, scale of 1 to 10. Again, the ceiling is a 10. A 10 means that you've defined them, you live into them, and they're really part of your every single day. A 1 is, nah, not so much. I don't even really have them identified. And a 5 is, yeah, I got them identified, but yeah, only in my prayers kind of a thing. Okay, so, ready? So, your right hand, scale of 1 to 10 this last week. How did you move looking into your Christian values? Keep your eyes closed. Okay, leave your arms where they are and open your eyes. Leave your arms where they are. Open your eyes and look around. What do you see? Just blurt it out. Fair to Midland. Fair to Midland. Just fair to Midland. Yeah, cool, great. So you can put your arms down now. And so I can see all of you, would you sit back down? So now the question is, so how would your life be different if all you did was go up just one position? So if you were 5, you went to a 6. How would your life be different? Blurt it out.
Okay, I'll be bold. TV would never come on.
TV would never come on. Wow. And what else would you be doing if the TV did not come on?
Well, you got the word, you've got
Yeah.
worship, you've got studying,
Right,
relationships,
right.
meeting with people.
And why is that important? Because you are the first stick, right? So you think about this 5 to 6, you're being the first stick, that's really key. It's really important. And who gets to make that choice? Exactly, right, yeah, you. Now, God's gonna pull alongside and help you, but you've got to choose it. You've got to choose it, okay? So that's pretty cool stuff, all right? So thank you very much for that. Okay, so who do you invite to come along? Who do you invite to come along? So you're doing your climb, and now it's like, okay, so who comes along? Jack Welch created this little 4-square matrix back when he was at GE, and basically all this is saying is that if you're in this northern part, you really buy into the values and the culture. You're in this part to the right, you're nailing your targets. Down here, you're kind of gaming the values and you're not doing so well on your targets. So you think about your team, think about that second stick. Well, who do you want? I mean, well, obviously I want the top right and I want the bottom lefters. I gotta get those guys the heck out of there. All right. Now keep in mind, I'm overly simplifying this. Okay, the bottom lefters, you invite them to come along and they've chosen not to come along. Okay, but let me challenge you to say, really, you want the northern hemisphere completely. This bottom part, if they're gaming the values are your foundation. They're your cornerstones. If they're gaming it, even if they're hitting the results, you want to ask them to leave. So one of the folks that I mentored, they run the sales team. Sales team's about 45 folks. His number one salesman, is gaming the values, but man, he was knocking the cover off the ball and selling stuff. And so this leader said, hey, I'm not kidding about values. You either got to start buying into these or you're out. Guy resigned the next morning. Okay. Like called his bluff, says, you're going to miss it. Guess what? The other 44 folks picked up the slack. Okay, because they want to be a part of something even bigger. So this is just a little cheesy organization chart to kind of drive home this point a little more. So that red rectangle is someone that doesn't buy into those values. Does not buy into the values. All right. Who are they a reflection on?
Are you talking external reflection? Like
No, right
outside of
here,
the,
in this little org chart, you got your owner, then you got these vice presidents, this supervisor reports to that VP of ops. So who right now is that organization really questioning the most? Yeah, I'm sorry, this chart's kind of complicated. He actually reports to him. So it's the VP of ops, you're absolutely right. Because they know that red rectangle, they know that guy. They know what he's about, you don't have to tell them. Okay, so here it is. That VP of ops, they're thinking, are you serious about the values? Because this guy wouldn't be on the team if you really were. Okay. What about these guys here? Let's say they're deep in the values, Christianity, they're in there, they're knocking the cover off the bottle on the stuff that they're working. How long do you think they'll stay if they're reporting to a red rectangle? Not very long, right? Not very long. The number one reason folks leave an organization is their supervisor. Yeah, exactly right. You bet. You bet. So, again, it's not easy, but you have to make these kind of choices when you're that first step. So, your stand for the Christian values, push back from fear. Number one thing that, again, as you're on this journey, you're bringing this team forward, the big thing is folks, don't like to change. And we've heard this a lot. Well, let me tell you about myself. Well, I didn't want to change. I like to speak for anyone else because I don't know about them. But for me, again, I'm real good at what I'm doing. I'm getting paid for it. I'm taking care of my family for it. Well, why the heck would I want to change? First off, I didn't like myself and looked in the mirror. That was the big driver. But the thing was, I was scared to step into something I didn't really know much about, and that was seeing faces and not figures. So I was afraid. Now, this whole thing of faith is believing in the unseen. I knew numbers and I could see them and I could calculate them. Faith? Holy shit, that's unseen. That's even more. So here, when people are pushing back from fear, for me, I've realized it's not like they're bad people. It's just they're got a perspective that I go over and invite them. They still choose not to come. I got to keep moving. I got to keep climbing. You, as that first stick, you got to keep climbing. Okay. The devil becomes more rigorous. The way that shows up for me is he gets me busy. At the end of the day, I'm like, how'd they contribute to the kingdom? And there's a lot of days I'm really embarrassed because I didn't really do much for the kingdom. Boy, I was busier than the days. So this is really, really key. Weaponizing by those unwilling. So my number one do-over was this. So I was in business for 43 years. My number one do-over is I had this situation and I did not address it. I did not address it until my last year and a half before I retired. This guy was, he was my mentor for 20 years. Brilliant ops guy, truly brilliant ops guy. but he saw process and not people. Well, think about this. He sees process and not people. I see figures and not faces. We were the dynamic duo of not the good kind. Okay? So, talked to him, told him what was going to happen if he didn't, but I kept getting seduced by how much I was learning, how much I was climbing. And so when I finally did the exit interview, said, this is it, you've got to go, he weaponized the values. He said, Tom, grace and love, you can't even spell those words. Oh. I said, no, actually, that's why you're here today. Because of my grace and love for you, you've got to go. I've tried other things that hadn't worked. Now I'm going to hit you with the other 2x4. You've got to go. You've got to go. Within the last month, I received texts from this guy about once a quarter, and it had 2 little prayer hands and 2 little hearts. Really cool stuff. So the last one there says, caretaking with the best of intentions. Caretaking with the best of intentions. So the caretaker is also known as a hero. Anyone heard of the drama triangle? Victim, villain, hero. So a hero needs a victim, and they also need a villain. And if they're not there, they'll create them. I'm a recovering hero. Okay, I find it every single day. And I'm not kidding. Okay. So the hero steps in and basically says, you're not good enough. Let me show you how you can be better, but let me show you directly, and I'm going to do it for you. The hero holds an organization small. Okay. What I found is that in Christian organizations, it's like, well, I mean, Jesus was a nice guy. I mean, he really was a very nice guy. And so I could be nice to people. We don't know that's not the case. I mean, Jesus made some tough standards. It's not the easy road. Okay. So that's the stands you'll have to make. So what's next after the team? So here you've got the first stick, the second stick, the third stick. So you're talking about deploying those Christian values. You deploy them into the processes. I'm going to come back to that in a second. Holistic goals. Holistic goals. So if you're a for-profit business, or even if you're not for-profit, you have quantifiable goals like membership. It could be donation dollars. If you're a for-profit, it happens to be sales, or EBITDA, or cash flow, things, those things. The other really cool goals that we would have is things like testimonials, quotes. I love the quotes, and I'm a numbers guy still. I mean, but I love the quotes, and I'm going to show you some. Update related processes. So Tom, what does that mean? Update related process is like the hiring process. Breathe those values into the hiring process, into the job descriptions, okay? The employee evals. You don't talk about the values when you're giving an evaluation, they're not real. So we breathe them into there, okay? Also think about the employee development. Another cool area is the sales process. Think about your folks showing up to a customer and they're leaning into those values. I mean, it's really cool stuff, powerful stuff. And then mentor executives in life, leadership, and business through faith. So one of my learnings is, I'm going to talk about business, and then I'll ask you about your life, and then we'll talk a little about leadership. Those are all silos. These things are all blended together. They're all blended together. So here we have these things, and so I talked about my mentor for 20 years in terms of faces. I had a mentor there for 10 years, okay? In my experience, these work best when I had help. Help being some type of facilitator, someone pulling alongside. And so going back to those 5 stages that Steve talked about, the first 2 stages are really about that first stick. 3rd, 4th, and 5th, now we're going into the sticks, really 2nd, 3rd, and 4th. So here, what I found is to have someone come alongside and in essence be a disciple with me. Okay, and I'm going to come back to that in just a moment. So these are 2 examples. Okay, so 2 of the companies that I've worked with since I retired, because I retired to give back the gifts that I've been given. So I didn't retire to play golf or tennis, although those are really fun things to do. I really felt as though I had been given gifts and it was to give them back. And so a couple of companies here that I've worked with to breathe Christ into their companies. So this one right here is a manufacturer, and it says Christian faith-based company. And so as the disciple or facilitator, I don't come in and say, here's your values and choose from this list. No, you literally help them find this on their own because they reside in them. And then they define them. So here you see that they talked about honorable, selfless, and curiosity. really cool. And there's a little bit of meat in this one here, talks about accountability also. Okay, so here's one. This is a distributor with 25 locations. Okay, and so again, they're talking about Christian family values, and they came up with on their own shepherd, okay, light, really cool, grace and love, and then passion. One of the things about facilitating this for me is, because I have people say, well, passion, that's not really a value. That's more of like a creed, isn't it? You may be spot on. But when these companies come up with these, it's like whatever they buy into and for them has meaning, that's what we're gonna run. Because they're theirs, they own them. It's so cool. Okay, so here's quotes. So these are quotes from these two companies as well as some folks that I mentor at the MBA program. So anyway, the first one. So my life has changed, so has my friend group. This is a guy who's a sales leader at one of these companies. Friday nights, you know, hey man, we had a great week, and go out and have a couple of beers with the boys, and then go home to the family. Doesn't do that anymore. This group that he's a part of now is his church group. Really cool. This is not what I expected. I'm so glad we're doing this. This is from an MBA student. And so what I asked the MBA students is, so what do you want from our interaction? And they usually give me a positional response. Well, I want to learn to be an entrepreneur. I want to learn to be a sales guy. I want to learn to be CEO, whatever. And it's like, cool, but we're not going to start there. We're going to start with, tell me about your values. Okay? And it kind of befuddles them. And they're like, and so what we do the next 3 or 4 sessions is they identify them, they define them, and then they drive them around the block, which means, so tell me how they showed up this last week, or not, because it's telling you things about these values when they're not showing up. So this next one is from the wife of one of these employees. God is at the forefront. I can only imagine where it will take them. This is getting to the family now. This is really cool. So it's not just about work, it's coming home. One, being the hero, I'm hurting the team. I didn't tell this guy to say this. This was unsolicited. This became an awareness because he was the classic, put the bayonet in his teeth and jump in and save the day. And he realized he's actually holding the team small. I'm not ready for this. So a guy I'd mentored for about 6 months, and I said, Tom, we're going to places I didn't think we were going to go, and I don't go there anymore. Okay. If someone says that to you, that's not a never statement. It's a now statement. Okay, so it's like, all right, get it? You got my number. And when you're ready to come back online, just give me a call, and I'll return the call. Okay? Saw him about 6 months ago. He said, you know, I'm making progress. I'm not ready yet, but I still got your number, and thanks for the invitation. Again, this will happen to you, and you cannot stay there and caretake. Okay, because I did that. It didn't work out like I said. So here are 3x5 stickies. So every time that I facilitate at the end of the session, the end of the day, so this was a 2-day session to develop the goals for 2023. So this was a year ago. I checked in with the team at the end of day 1. So what are your top 2 awarenesses from the day? The reason I do 3x5 cards is because I want to hear from everybody. Anybody been in a meeting and they'll say something like, you know, I thought the same thing that Nathan did. The same thing. Anyone do that piggybacking? Okay, well, I want to know what you're thinking. So I'm not going to allow you to piggyback on somebody. You're going to do a 3x5 card. So the cool thing is, so here are all these 3x5s, and unsolicited, 25% of those reference to the Christian family values in some favorable light in terms of helping them hit their goals for 2023. That's pretty cool. I did not bring up Christian family values. Unsolicited, end of the day, in both days at this happened. All right, so you guys are back on, okay? So, watching this. So this is, anyone here ever done a keep, stop, start? Yeah. So it's just a really easy reflection tool. Really easy reflection tool. So the way it works is, in this case, we're going to talk about 2023. It's 2024, 2023. As you look back on that, what are the things that you did you want to keep doing that worked well? What are the things that you did you're like, that didn't work so well, I'm going to stop doing that. And then what are the things you didn't do that you want to start doing? But the perspective we're going to take here is, imagine that Jesus is sitting next to you in giving you this evaluation. He right now is sitting next to you and giving you this evaluation. What would he say to you? What would he say? So we're gonna take about 60 seconds. You're not gonna share this with anybody, okay? But I want you to take about 60 seconds and pick one. So whether it's a keep, stop, or start, and come up with a couple of bullet points as to what God would say to you in this context about what you did in 2023. Okay, you can type in your phone, keep it in your head, whatever, just do that. I'm gonna give you about 45 seconds now. All right, so let me ask you, what was that like for you to do that? What's that like for you?
Encouraging,
Encouraging,
yes.
thank you. Who else? What's that like for you?
Eye-opening,
Eye-opening. Say more.
perspective,
Sorry, perspective?
yeah.
Okay.
I guess my word was procrastination.
Procrastination. Yeah, yeah. So one of the funny things for me, because I've done this for myself personally. So in terms of the start, what I wrote down, the start playing big. When I shared it with someone, so picture, I've written this down, start playing big. I shared it and wondered. And what I said was, I said, start praying big. No accent. No accent. I wrote down play, I shared pray. Good stuff. So of all the things I could have finished with, why do you think I finished with this exercise? Action item? Yeah.
This is the starting point.
Starting point of growth? You bet. Yeah, right. Document reality. Document reality, starting point of growth. Yeah,
Reflection is always good.
sorry?
Reflection is always good.
Reflection's always good. You bet. Yeah, that first step, right? We gotta keep climbing.
To return focus to the stick, to the first stick.
Return the folks to the first step. Man, you guys are great.
How would Jesus be looking at what you're doing?
How would Jesus be looking at what you're doing? And so one of the things that I make up is that, you know, you'll have your Bible study group or you'll have your FCCI group, and then you go back to work and you get some pushback and it's like, maybe I need to study more. Maybe I need to be better at this. Quite frankly, you don't. You don't. You're ready now. Okay? But the thing about this is think how easy this is to breathe Christ into your company. This simple little exercise. Really cool. And it works. I mean, you all had fun with it? It's even more than fun. It's growth. Yeah. So, thank you. Now, so here's the summary. Okay, it starts with the values, right? And focus on the Christian model before the business model. Okay, you got to have that foundation. You got to have those cornerstones. Then it talks here, it links to the 5 stages of FCCI. So we've really talked a lot about that the 5 stages. You know, that 5th stage is about breathing that excellence in your company. The 4th stage has to do with now the kingdom. Okay, and the 5th stage is about multiplying. That's really key. Okay, so now, and where you start, it's up to you, right? I mean, it's really cool. So you guys are the first step. You get to make that call. You get to make that call. And then the last, it says FCCI is eager to help on your journey. So I've already shared that this is why I retired. And I've got a colleague here, John Gallagher. John, would you stand up, please? So this is also what John does. Yes. So John, you have your own company, and just in 25 words or less, what you do?
Raleigh Champions is executive coaching and a performance consulting company that facilitates excellence in these organizations like this.
One more time, sorry.
I run Growing Champions Company, a 3-year-old company that does executive coaching and performance consulting for organizations just like this. using processes to inspire, encourage, and equip them to improve on their journey and improve their kingdom impact, give to their public.
Thanks, John. Thank you very much. So this is really cool stuff. We talked about, facilitation and how this happens. And so maybe specific. So the way this would work is we've got what next cards?
Actually, they're not here, but we have a QR code, so we digitally.
Thank you. Thank you. So you're going to have an opportunity to say, well, gosh, based on what we heard tonight, here's something I'd like to try. And so John and I would be very eager to take a call or to just talk about it. It's not, again, we're both practitioners. This isn't about, well, here's what you need to do. You're going to hear a lot of listening and questions. Okay? May even come out to your place. And if we started this facilitation, let's say you said, well, gosh, I'd like to create these values things. And so can you guys help me with that? I do it pro bono. I do not charge you. Okay, all I ask is if you really like what happened, give a donation to FCCI. You won't pay me anything. Then you have to pay me to get out there back. But I mean, other than that, so now John here, he's still got his business, so you'll work it out with him. But for me, again, I've been given gifts from God, and I didn't get them for myself. I got them in order to give back. So, thank you very much. Greatly appreciate your time. Kevin, thank you very much.
Stay with us for a minute, just for a few minutes. We want to just take time and just ask any questions that you might have of Tom. I want you to really process what he just offered, okay? What a tremendous gift to Triangle, North Carolina. And it would be unfortunate if we don't take opportunity of this. He's willing to come back. He's willing to talk to you one-on-one. He's willing to really hand walk you and John to hand walk you through developing core values into your company for Christ. And so one of my practical questions is not everybody's leading a Fortune 500 company. So what is too small for you to be willing to come back?
Sitting up outside. It really is about carrying forth that journey. And so, you're not going to hear from me or from John. No, I'm sorry, you only have 5 people? No, just think about it. I mean, seriously, this is the pebble in the pond. You have 5 today, tomorrow you could have 200. Okay, so, no, seriously, I'm really more interested in your journey and what you want to create. And John and I will pull alongside and help any way we can, believing that God's at work.
What would this time length look like? Are we talking about 1 day, 2 day, 3 day? How much time would it take for us to engage you when you come in?
So it's really on what you want.
Okay.
I mean, so for example, so the distributor has gone through the values, has gone through the goal creation process updates. So I was in another 8 days. Okay. Yeah, but so just the key is it starts with the values. And so the values and just a touch on the goals was a 2 day. And what the 2 day means is you and your leadership team. It's not you by yourself. It's you and your leadership team, and we come in and facilitate the dialogue. Do not have answers. Facilitate the dialogue.
What if it's a solo entrepreneur?
Solo entrepreneur, yeah. Careful if you. No, I mean, so it's that entrepreneur has a vision of, I'm making up, someday to have his company be a ministry.
Yeah.
Well, why not catch it on the front end versus on the backside? You got 500 folks running around, you're like, oh my gosh, how do I get out in front of this?
Yeah. And my point in asking is it's much easier to import core values when you're only working with 2 or 3.
Well, yeah, and again, those core values, a lot of times are a reflection of yours.
Yeah.
They're yours too. So you're not going to have your Christian values be over here and the company's Christian values be over here. I've not seen that. I can't see it. Yeah.
And culture uses solo term, but there really is no solo in success. You may not have them on your payroll, but you have a team. And your team has an opportunity for you and I to build Christian values into them. What questions do you have before we let Tom go? Any other questions? Yes, Joette.
How does your helping when it comes to working with a 501c3? Yeah.
It was really, it's just give me the same question, you know, what do you want to create? And really also, a lot of that's got to do with your vision. You know, you all are showing up every day for a reason. And why is that? What do you want to create? And so, you know, you still have metrics that we would target, but you also have a lot of subjective stuff that's really cool that we want to make sure that we pursue that as well. So this isn't just about profitability. I mean, I've also worked with not-for-profits, and so the key is the blend is correct. That's the blend. Thank you.
The question is, how does this apply to a nonprofit?
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. One more question? Yeah, Mark?
Yeah,
And Mark, why don't you come on up? You're gonna be put on the hot seat. Just take a minute.
Hello, Marty.
Yeah, come on up and take the mic, ask your question, and we'll let you and Tom dialogue just for a minute. And then I've got a question for you, Mark.
So my question was, is there a pattern of similar values that you've seen collectively from successful companies that you've come across?
So,
Does it matter? Does it matter? Does it really matter if they're just agreeing to it or have collective value?
so let me say this about that. Okay. There are certain things that I will admit that I look for. So if the team has not brought up something like love or grace, I may ask about it. But if it doesn't get in there, you notice in the one, the manufacturing company, okay, it had honorable, selfless, and curiosity. One of the things for me in love and grace is forgiveness. In the vision, it's forgiveness is in it. So if there's just certain foundational things that I want to make sure it's somewhere in that. That when I think about Christ, it's like the way that he showed up. So I see some commonalities, and it's really how Christ showed up.
Thank you, Tom.
You're very
Big
welcome.
round of applause for Tom. We want to spend just a moment and give an impact story to everyone watching online and here in the room. Mark Williams is a multi-generational company owner. Mark, tell us just a little bit about what your grandfather, I think it's your grandfather that started?
Yeah.
And your company.
Sure. So our family business started in 1961. My grandfather's partner started the business. They were real estate developers. They were a construction company. And they ended up building hotels. And so our family got into hotel management. So our family business has been hotel management since 1971.
And how big is your team?
Well, so 3 years ago, we partnered with a bigger company, called Hotel Equities, based in Alpharetta, Georgia, because of shared similar values and with the foundation focused on honoring God and business. And so collectively, between our company and our strategic partners and HE, we're around 10,000 plus associates now.
So biblical faith values were integrated at the very beginning, or yes?
Yes, it's been an integral part, yeah.
Okay. What is one of your favorite values that the company has, you've watched the company multiply?
So with Hotel Equities now, I think we got 10 key values. One of my favorite values, I was just telling someone this recently, was the greatest leaders are the greatest servants. And then the second one, the all people matter. Yeah.
And so how do you actually deploy that value throughout your company?
So we have a corporate chaplaincy program with our business, and my uncle, who was a chaplain in the Navy, he came on board after he retired from being a pastor up in Pennsylvania. But we've tried to integrate that in a number of ways. One of the things that came to mind as I was thinking about this is very simple. Was we have a 24-hour prayer line. And just before Christmas, we had a general manager of ours message me, and she was like, my aunt's in the hospital. She had a brain trauma, and she needs immediate prayer. So I said to Greg, we have a situation. And so we have a whole bunch of people on our prayer team. And everybody collectively prayed for it. I know he got off the plane and called her directly. And then the next day, amazingly, she just opened her eyes in the hospital and on the road to recovery. So that's just a simple thing that we can do to be available to our team members that are going through difficult things.
Yeah. And without disclosing private information, what is her position in the company? Is she the CEO?
No, she's the
Executive.
general manager of Holiday Inn Express in New York. And we have associates that are on all levels that are available to tap into this with cards at a lot of the hotel use properties. It's at the front desk, it's an insurance where people, the guests or team members, if they want to prayer, they can tap into that. So.
And I was about to tee up the question, can you give me a story of the actual transformation spreading? And you did that without even being asked. But that is how easy this process is for you and I to just be intentional about allowing God to use us to bring biblical Christian values into the marketplace, into the company. This is a hotel manager that experienced a miracle from Almighty God as a result of the value of prayer in a company. And if that card hadn't been there, if this value hadn't been there, she maybe never would have had an experience with the living creator of the universe. You have one more story that you'd like to share of something just where you've seen God move in a very unexpected way?
Well, I was just, let's see. I was thinking about this tonight, and I think that one thing that I think has been for me personally has been over the past looking at everything is spiritual maturity, and I think that's was touched on this tonight about leadership. The more we go along, we can look back and we can see how God has answered prayer, because we all, as business leaders and owners, we're dealing with problems constantly and challenges. And so the more that we can go forward and see how God has provided answer to prayer, that He's said yes or no in different situations, that He's been there for you to answer those. I think we grow spiritually and trust in the faith of God and what He can do for you. So that's what I was saying.
Great. One last question. Why would you be involved in FCCI? Earlier, I was asking everyone, have you been involved 1 year, 2 year, 3 year? I don't know that you've been involved 10 years, so your family has. Why? Why value FCCI and its role in the kingdom?
FCCI has always provided really, really good content to help you grow personally and as a Christian business leader. Some great resources in terms of learning from all kinds of different speakers, and then also really good connections and people that you can reach out to. So it's leadership content, it's personal growth, and then that which you can transfer back to your company to help your company grow and your people grow, and then also excellent connections in the marketplace. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's good. Steve, did you get the QR code that you promised us?
Yeah.
And I want to ask you to take out your smart device and take this QR code. Unfortunately, Ryan was well, not unfortunately, but Ryan was bringing response cards that would be on the table tonight, and they were diverted to Dulles with Ryan. Unfortunately, he couldn't just throw it out of the plane for us. But we do have the next best thing here. And I really think our next steps are critical right now. It is the beginning of 2024 and opportunity abounds. And we've been given a great offering from Tom and John and even FCCI. What you're going to find here is a response card where you can communicate your interest in knowing more about FCCI and its opportunities for membership. It's opportunities for you to be involved in small groups, even here locally. I and Nathan and Steve. Are there any others in our Tuesday group? But then we have others in a Thursday group. Raise your hand if you're in one of FCCI groups. Okay. And this is a weekly interaction. These meetings here are quarterly or maybe bi-monthly throughout 2024. They were started back after COVID back in 2023. And so you'll hopefully have opportunity to meet Ryan, as Steve mentioned, later this spring. But between now and then, these small groups are incredible opportunities. And they're not just in person. If transportation or travel, I know some of you are outside the triangle and it may be difficult for you to commit to an hour one way, an hour meeting, or a 90-minute meeting and an hour back. It could be half of your day, but they're also available online. And every week, we share together, we talk about the highs and the lows, how we can pray together. We watch a 15 to 20-minute clip. Right now, we're going through a Henry Blackaby series. If you've ever been through his material, you can't get enough of it. Before that, it was Bruce Wilkerson, same thing. And the resources that FCCI provides is just incredible. But then there's discussion, and then there's application and prayer, and we wish everybody well, and we get back together the following week. But during the week, we have this incredible community. It brings the bigger groups here to a much smaller reach. And you can really get to know someone on a level that they can actually be a resource for you if your company is needing something that you don't know where to find. I've leaned on Nathan many times. Nathan is a connector and a resource guide. So if you need anything in your company, reach Nathan Boss, wave over there. Yeah. And all of you have that kind of opportunity to help one another. And that's one small way that you can do that. But what is not on this card is Tom's information. So Steve, can you bring Tom back up, his information? And maybe you want to make sure you get this in your,
It's on the back.
it's the slide.
It's on the back.
It's actually on the back of the handout. Thank you, everyone. Yeah, right there on the back of the handout is Tom's information. There is a button on the RDU page that you can go to get to this. It's mislabeled at the moment, unless the team corrected it. But you can get to this handout that everyone in the room is looking at. But Tom has given you an invitation to email him, to message him, to be in touch with him about scheduling a conversation. I just want to encourage you to at least consider that. You and Tom can figure it out, and you'll be able to know. We within the Triangle Leadership Team. I'm a volunteer with FCCI. Nathan is, Steve is. Others of you have been in leadership as well. We are willing to facilitate Zoom calls with Tom, more meetings where maybe 10 companies come together for a workshop with Tom. And because he is most likely going to be here for someone's company. And while he's here, we can leverage that for other small groups while he's here. Those are not scheduled. We don't have dates on the calendar yet. It's really based upon the interest in the room. If you sense God moving, this is a free resource. And then obviously, if that's of value to you, Tom has offered you the opportunity to make a contribution to FCCI. Steve, I'm going to turn it over to you and you can dismiss us, but fill in the gaps where I've left out, okay?
Yeah, so one thing that we didn't cover is the I in FCCI. So there's a footprint that we have typically in the United States. It's in September. That's an international conference. Historically, we've had 2-3 dozen or more countries represented there. And then there's 350, 400 maybe business leaders that come in like-minded. And they're really united by this idea that we can lead a company for Christ. So when you walk in that room, I can tell you, I talked to Tom shortly after the first time he walked in. He was lit up. And that's one of the reasons that he's here. And you can ask him about that. But in that moment, not only do you make the connections across the room, you find people maybe in the same industry, maybe they even have the same idea to launch a business, but they're in a non-competing market. And you can build a relationship there. The other thing is that we have speakers that come in, like for many years, Dr. Henry Blackaby did, and he did a series for us called Experiencing God in Your Business. So Nathan can tell you the thing, because he's just been through the study that Dr. Blackaby did originally that was published many years ago. That was a general application for it. And then Dr. Henry Blackaby came to our conference in 2001. And we captured a moment where he unpacked taking those things in terms of experiencing God into your workplace. So there's speakers like that. Some of them household names, some of them CEOs that are just passionate about their walk with Christ, Tom included. So we hear from them at the conference. The videos are recorded, segmented, and we develop support materials. And then in the groups, we unpack that. So literally, this theme right here, Inspired to Lead, was from the conference last September. And this year, this content is trickling out there. So I want to strongly encourage you to consider putting September on your calendar. We're going to talk about that more between now and then. And the form that you just filled out, several of you did, and I appreciate that. My phone was dinging as they were coming through. There's not necessarily a place there for notes, but we would love to personalize it. You may have some specific questions, areas of interest, so we will do our very best to follow up in the next week or two here. Really appreciate what you're doing. I would encourage you to. I've been involved in a study, this is just a personal study for 20 some odd years now, because we had leaders in FCCI. They kept talking about the city. And I thought, I'm not quite getting it. And so I just went to God's word. And I was amazed. I did a word search and I found 1,172 references to the word city and cities. Just the word city and cities. That didn't list the times that Rome was spoken of by name, Philippi, or some of these other places that were associated with people groups and with churches. But I began to understand that our city is important to God. It's a center for commerce, for creativity. There are more jobs created in cities than any other places. And if you look at where people are going, they're coming here to work. Our area is a magnet. There are people coming here that don't have a job, that maybe left a good job because they wanted to come to Raleigh. So God is bringing the world to our door. We have an enormous community here. Fill in the blank. Ukraine especially, we've been blessed just lately, additions there. Maybe Ukrainian groups starting up Wednesday morning in a few weeks. But the Indian community, our neighborhood, we have so many that are connected with the technology companies out there. So God is bringing them to our door. Tuesday morning, this morning, we had Munich, India, and 3 of us from Raleigh. And if everybody shows up, it's even more. So the power of that technology, we want to leverage for God's glory. And we want to get you plugged in. And we'd love to see you accomplish as well. So, yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And thank you, Kevin, as spirit needed.
Yeah, thank you, Steve. Can we all stand? I want to just pray over you and you pray over each other before we dismiss. We're about to go out into heavy rains. And I'm sure, I just think it's important that everyone feel supported in this room. And so I want to just guide us in a moment of prayer, then I'm going to close this out. Would you just think of the people that you've met tonight for the first time and just lift them up before the Lord? And just ask for his hand and anointing upon them, that they would be assured of his favor, his presence, his peace, his power over them, over their marriages, over their family, over their companies. Will you just ask God to keep his hand of protection over the person on your left? Will you ask God to pour out his spirit over everything that the person on your right is touching right now in their life? The people in their sphere of influence, their children, their grandchildren, their employees, their staff. And will you just lift up one of the names of the nations that are represented in this room and other nations that come to mind, and just asking that the nations would praise the Lord Jesus Christ. And that there would be a continuation of this global movement of ministry, of the Lord's presence in the marketplace. People spend more time in the marketplace than any other place. And let it be here that the kingdom comes, that his will is done. So Father, we thank you for the leaders, for the champions, for the servants, the brothers and sisters in this room. Thank you for the friendships that are being built tonight, for the kingdom collaboration and partnerships. Father, thank you for Tom and Amy and all of those, Joanne, that have come in, John and others from long miles and long travel on a very weary weather day to be with us tonight. No doubt you were doing something, or they could have just stayed at home and had a much easier evening. But you're moving. Make us sensitive to that. Open up our eyes to that. And Father, begin something here tonight that we'll look back to years from now, and just know that even on that weather crazy night, there was something that you did in the triangle that started that we got to be a part of. And it's so significant, but yet it's so simple. Help us to just see the simplicity of raising up kingdom values in our companies and the impact that that can have worldwide. And so show us your values and help us to have your values personally, and to just be intentional in 2024 of integrating these values into our companies. Thank you for this testimony that Mark shared of this power of prayer in the hotel industry. This wasn't First Baptist Church. This was a hotel. Thank you that most of the miracles of Jesus were in the marketplace. So Lord, move. We just want to welcome you to the marketplace through FCCI, and just ask that you would solidify to everyone in the room next step, and that we would know we're not alone. Thank you. We give you praise in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. All right. No one has to run out and leave very quickly. Get to continue to pass your name out to each other, but God bless you, and be in touch very soon.
Nice to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.